up in this hour, Deputy Attorney General Dr. Justice Remsai insists the AG has more than enough evidence to secure a conviction against former director of the National Signals Bureau, who is still behind bars.
Also, the 2024 flag bearer of the NPP, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, visits the Edum Blue Light Market to commiserate with victims of the devastating fire which destroyed over 100 shops and property.
This hour will also throw the spotlight on rising cost of food in Ghana and how that is affecting living standards of the everyday Ghanaian. Hello there, you're welcome to News Central. I'm Kemini Amano.
And I am Mawina Egbeta. The bulletin starts right now. This afternoon, embattled former director of the National Signals Bureau, Kwabena Edubuahi, and his wife are fighting off allegations of embezzlement labeled against them by the Office of the Attorney General. The Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Ayine, yesterday revealed details of embezzlement in the procurement of cyber security software solutions for the National Signals Bureau, ranging in excess of some 39 million cedis. Now, according to the AG, they have enough evidence to proceed to prosecute. But in a statement of their own, lawyers for the accused persons are responding to the Attorney General's allegations while denying a number of the claims as put out by Dr. Dominic Ayine. Let's run you through that statement that's been coming through from the lawyers of Kwabena Edubuahi, I should say, and what really they've been saying with respect to a number of these matters as has been raised by the Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Ayine, yesterday at that news conference of which we brought you details of. Now, starting off with one of the explanations that's been offered by the lawyers of Mr. Edubuahi, they say that they cannot fathom why the Attorney General will use the power of the press rather than his advocacy at the bar to feed the general public with his prejudicial and skewed information. And so they hold the view that a lot of the details that was shared by the AG yesterday was prejudicial and skewed to cause public disaffection for their client in the court of public opinion. Now, they proceed to say, amongst many other things, that Iyoko or that it was very unprofessional to assert that the properties purportedly owned by their client, which is Kwabena Edubuahi, and his wife, were acquired after 2018 when there is no verification that they belong to their client using criminal proceeds from their work, essentially making the argument that all of the 27 plus properties which have been listed by the Attorney General, there's no evidence. Based on what the lawyers of Mr. Edubuahi are saying, there's no evidence to prove or point to the fact that this was acquired between 2018 and afterwards, and that this is proceeds from criminal proceedings. Again, they have issues with Iyoko denying their client a right to counsel, essentially that they as lawyers could not get access to their clients, and in certain instances, when they were even seeking to have privileged conversations with their client, the security officials at Iyoko were insisting on being privy to these conversations which were ongoing between they themselves as lawyers and then Kwabena Edubuahi and his wife. And then lastly, with respect to conversations about bail and conditions, whether or not that's been granted to them, the lawyers were making the argument yesterday that the Attorney General, when he was addressing that news conference, was acutely aware he had violated the rights of their clients relating to the 48-hour rule incarceration as provided or prescribed by the 1992 Constitution and which was further espoused and clarified by the Supreme Court in Pebu 1 and Pebu 2 as well. But the Deputy Attorney General, Dr. Justice Srimsai, he's been responding to these concerns as raised in the statement by lawyers of Mr. Edubwai in an exclusive interview with my colleague Alfred Okansi. He says that the Attorney General's office has more than enough evidence to secure a conviction.
The accused person was arrested on Thursday night. Thursday night.
That's Edubwai.
We could, the suspect. We could have announced to the public that moment that he was arrested. But that was the time that we needed to confirm certain things. It was after Friday, Saturday, that we've taken the accused person through. We've granted him his right to counsel, and his lawyers were present. He was shown to various, some of the properties that you see. The accused person has been taken to those properties to verify certain things. The last time I checked this evening, he was still in custody. They've not been formally charged, but they've been cautioned. They're actually on bail. What is left now is for them to fulfill the bail conditions. We cannot put out information merely because someone has said it. We can only put out information when we believe that the evidence we have is sufficient to ground an action in court. In this particular, there are the accused persons are about 50, the suspects are about 15. 15 suspects as of now. And it keeps growing because when you follow the money, it exposes you to another company. Then you find the company directors and members. Then you follow that. So we have more than 12 companies involved here. We cannot put all these things out. In fact, what we have done is just the minimum, exposure that we have given to the facts and the things that we have. If you are surprised by today, what you will see in the coming days would even shock your conscience, because you cannot believe what the investigations are revealing.
And so that's Deputy Attorney General Dr. Justice Srimsai providing details really for us with respect to a lot more that is yet to be uncovered with respect to the work that is being done into the activities of Kwabena Edubwai during his time as the director of the National Signals Bureau, working the phone lines to be able to engage Vitus Azim, who is an anti-graft campaigner, with respect to what more we can expect from the AG's office and really what he's made of everything that's transpired. Now the argument is advancing a lot quickly with respect to how and why we continue to see a lot of these infractions with respect to matters in relation to procurement and the likes. There are those as well who make the argument with respect to whether or not in the court of public opinion the AG is seeking to persecute Mr. Edubwai, as has been the argument made by his lawyer Samuel Atachia, who's been writing and making public their grievances with respect to how it all transpired yesterday. But as we speak now, we know that per what the Attorney General has been telling us, there's a 260 million cedis bail with a number of sureties which has been granted to Mr. Edubwai, and then as well his wife, which the argument is that they are yet to meet these bail conditions upon which he will be released. But yesterday as well, the Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Ayeni, provided extra details that he had received fresh briefings which suggested that Mr. Edubwai had to be rearrested after he met his bail conditions. There are those who make the argument that these fresh details upon which a fresh arrest will be made have to be shared so as to not abuse the process of detaining him when bail is readily available to him. But another subject matter of concern, which has got a lot of tongues wagging, has been the properties as acquired by Mr. Edubwai, as has been captured by this details provided by the Attorney General. Let's try and run you through what it is that the AG provided with respect to properties and what the AG says they are looking into, which is on your screen right now, which starts with $1 million property at Mayfair Estates. There is also one with $500,000 which was deposit for five houses at Mayfair Estate. Then there was another $200,000 purchase again at Mayfair Estate. another $270,000 purchase of another house at Mayfair Estate, a $97,815 purchase at Mayfair Estate, $150,000 at Mayfair Estate, and then 27 houses acquired at Vertex Properties, each costing $295,000. And so that's the latest. Let's try and connect right now with Madame Meriada. She is the Executive Director of the Ghana Integrity Initiative, who's she's joined us. She's long called for government to prioritize the passage of the Public Officers Conduct and the Internal Audit Agency bills to help fight corruption. Madam Mary, thank you for speaking to us and for joining us from far away in Kenya. What have you made in relation to the details as has been provided by the Office of the Attorney General vis-a-vis the calls you have made with respect to these bills which are still yet to be brought before Parliament, and then they will be passed and taken to the President for assent?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to you, Martin. I believe this current expose has vindicated our call that we need a robust and very legitimate regime within which we can all then say that as a people we want to fight corruption. The institutions of states who have been able to do this investigation and come this far would be the better for it if we have a better Conduct of Public Officers Bill in place. That then clearly states the culture of asset declaration, verification, and publication. This gentleman who started work in this place somewhere in, I think, within the other regimes, maybe 2015, 2016 or thereabouts, who now can boast of 27 houses, can boast of 2 of them outside this country, and can do other things. But that is not to say that we are saying he is guilty, but it calls for a more robust and a very good regime within which this gentleman can now answer the questions. Where did you get these properties from? What is your source of income? And again, we have said the Internal Audit Agency bill is also very important. Let's get it passed. But then the issue about people explaining their sources of wealth cannot be overemphasized.
Right.
It is important that people explain that within 15 years, within 10 years, I was working in this sector, I was able to make this amount of money, and this is legitimate, and these are the sources, and we can track them and call for people to answer if there is a need. Right. And so this is more than evidence that we need to do a lot more and quickly, expeditiously get the Conduct of Public Officers bill passed, and also get the issues around unexplained wealth sorted, and also the issue around doing lifestyle audits. If this were done, I don't think we would have had this challenge whatsoever.
Another issue of concern which has come up is the nature in which it looks like consistently when issues of corruption come up, where we find them. Matters having to do with procurement more often than not tends to be the biggest avenue through which corruption festers in this country. How do we proceed in dealing with this? Because the Public Procurement Authority is expected to serve as the agency which must oversee and grant approvals to when these procurements are done. Yet still, it does appear we have a bigger problem on our hands than it seems, because consistently we're seeing these procurements inflated and leading to monies being embezzled and diverted.
Certainly so. So you see, these regimes are in place to guide our behavior. And so for the public office, one of the good regimes we have in place is the Public Procurement Act. and our current public financial management framework that we have, including the regulation, which clearly spells out what we can do and what we cannot do. But admittedly, you must also then pay attention to the issues around human beings as we are and the selfish nature of every human being and the greed within which we operate. When we realize that we have few gaps in our system, we tend to try to exploit these gaps to our self-seeking advantage. And this has happened over and over again. And this usually would happen in connivance with other public officers who deal in the issues of ensuring compliance. And so for every entity, there is an entity tender committee for procurement. For above that, we have a central tender committee. And so the central tender board is supposed to identify some of these loopholes if they come to them. But then if people have made up their mind that they want to cheat the system, they find a way of doing it together, colluding and finding some of these. And these are intelligent people, mind you, who would be able to do this and get away with it. The person has set up a committee. What are the processes and protocols in place to verify the sources of this and what money is going into it? And then the issue of the private sector actor also comes into being. So if people are procuring and the private sector partner is interested, they also then, because they want to be in business, will allow some of these to come up. He knows he's being cheated, but he wants business next time and allows it to happen. So we as a people need to put in place, as the NACAP said in the first NACAP, put in place effective and efficient systems that detect and report and punish corruption.
Right. Just briefly, with respect to this revelation which we've seen, whether or not it sends a strong signal to persons in this government as well to stay off corruption, because we know that yesterday the Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Ayine, served warning as well to current public officials that he will come after them if they also engage in corruption. Does that come as a big enough deterrent for persons in government now not to engage in such? Just briefly.
Martin, I don't think so. I don't think so. It is a good indicator that there is commitment to fight corruption. And the commitment to fight corruption is usually very good when it comes to doing post-regime accountability. And the new regime or dispensation is in place. You can hold other people to account very well. Yes, it has a deterrent effect on seeing that your predecessor is being held to account and may suffer consequences for it. But then if you look at our space and the way our campaign financing regime is fueled or propelled, then it is very difficult to say that people would be held to account unless we see action. And so we would say that the sweetness of the pudding would be in the eating. Let's see government also hold others accountable. And let's see, particularly for me, I would want to see motivation that people do not want to do this because they see that there is a lot of deterrence and sanctioning in place for others who have tried to do same.
Madam Mariada, thank you very much for speaking to us. She's the Executive Director of the Ghana Integrity Initiative, speaking to us this afternoon.
Now, away from that, former Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is visiting the Blue Light Market today. The popular business hub in Kumasi was ravaged by a monstrous fire on Friday, March 21st, where over 300 shops were gutted in the process. Well, there you have it in your shots. The former vice president waving to the crowd that is there to welcome his visit of the Blue Light Market. Let's connect with William Evans Inkum, who's correspondent on the ground, and find out the latest on this matter. Evans, I appreciate you talking to us this afternoon. The former vice president visited the market earlier today. Well, it seems Evans is frozen in that screen. There you are. Talk to us about what he did today when he visited the Blue Light Market.
Well, Kamini, so he donated 200,000 Ghana cedis to the affected traders and also donated 1,000 bags of cement. Of course, he also backing them that if they want to rebuild their market, maybe government can offer some guidelines, but they should be allowed to rebuild, their own markets. So that is what Dr. Mahmoud Baumia is also telling them.
I see. Talk to us about the reception from the traders as well. What was the response to the former vice president?
Well, it was a rousing one. More or less, probably was a quote. I think that it was a campaign ground, but I can tell you that the reception was good to him. Again, he also told them that, of course, leaving government, they had done about 80% of the second phase of the KDTR development market project and also ensured, he told government to continue. I'm talking about the current administration to continue so the traders will also have a better place, to do their business. So it was something that was also welcoming to the traders who also came around him. Of course, he also said something about the fire service, telling them that they did a human job, but they shouldn't be demoralized by some of the things that they've been hearing. It's also something that he also told the fire personnel around.
I see. Let's take a listen to the, well, my understanding is that's not ready at the moment, but we know some promises were made to the traders by the incumbent government. Have those promises been fulfilled? What can you report on that?
Well, so we know that some 600,000 have been raised by the current administration. Yesterday, the regional minister engaged with the traders, giving them some level of assurance. Mind you, the traders had early on also raised some concerns about how the market is going to be back to life. Of course, the RTT is also promising them that anything that will make them happy, they are also in line with them. Of course, this morning, Sanchene also delegated some tweets to also come and ascertain the veracity of the extent of damage and also the engaged traders as to exactly what they want done as far as rebuilding the blue light market is concerned. But coming in, trust me that even if the blue light market is going to be built, we are not going to see it as it was before the disaster. There's going to be proper planning as far as bringing the market back to life is concerned. It's something that we are also getting from governments.
I know the scope of damage as far as this market is concerned. What are the investigations showing us?
Well, now we are getting varying reports. We cannot independently confirm because the traders believe that Inso might have caused this particular destruction. Of course, when Dr. Mahmoud Baumia came, he also mentioned that as something that he is also hearing. We have not been privy to any official report from the fire service through the RCC or the Regional Security Council as to what really triggered 21st March inferno at the blue market inside again. But we understand that investigation is still ongoing, even including forensics, just to be sure what triggered the levels of fire.
Very well, Evans, we'll leave it here. Thank you so much for talking to us. William Evans Inkum is our Shanti region correspondent. Now, Ghana is battling a growing fire crisis with frequent outbreaks, reducing markets, homes and businesses to ashes. Now, in the midst of the multiple infernos, a troubling reality hangs. Another story I want to bring to you after this break. Don't go away.
And you're back to News Central here on TV3. We're proceeding with our story in relation to fires. We know that the flag bearer of the NPP in 2024 visited the Edum area following the weekend's fire. Let's bring you an update in relation to our fight against fires, because we know that the country is battling a growing fire crisis with frequent outbreaks, reducing markets, homes and businesses to ashes. In the midst of the multiple infernos, a troubling reality hangs. Is the Ghana National Fire Service prepared to fight fires?
On a hot Saturday afternoon, as traders at the KJTR market went about their business, an unpleasant smell filled the air. Within minutes, thick black plumes of smoke rose into the sky, followed by panic screams. Buckets of water were flung desperately, but the flames only grew fiercer. By the time firefighters arrived, much of the market had been reduced to ashes. This is a scene that has played out too many times. In Accra, Kumasi, Takrady and beyond, markets, homes and entire businesses have been wiped out in minutes. The aftermath is always the same. Victims left in tears, authorities calling for investigations and promises of improved safety that rarely materialize. Amid the ruins, a pressing question hangs: is the country prepared to fight fires? There's no doubt the Ghana National Fire Service has limited resources, yet much is expected of them. Hydrants that do not work, fire trucks that break down in the middle of an emergency, and fire stations that lack basic equipment paint a dire picture of the service struggling to keep up.
We had a major challenge with accessibility because the place is very congested. There's no access to it, so we're unable to enter.
Such stories are not rare. In some cases, fire personnel have had to resort to using makeshift methods, fetching water from nearby drains or relying on private water tankers to combat fires. The frustration within the ranks is evident. Even more, many fire trucks are overaged and breaks down frequently. Basic firefighting equipment like protective gears you would expect should be available have become luxuries, forcing them to risk their lives. Inadequate staffing and limited budget allocations further compound the problem, leaving fire stations across the country stretched. For some firefighters, they have had to take the unconventional path of turning away when they are attacked from the general public to save lives and property. The blame game after every major fire outbreak follows a predictable cycle. Market traders who are often the worst hit feel abandoned. Beyond markets, residential homes and businesses are also at risk. It is safe to say that many Ghanaians do not have fire extinguishers at home, and even those who do have little or no knowledge on its use, and this includes the emergency numbers of the fire service. In urban areas especially, access to fire spots is a major challenge, leading to delayed response times. Across Ghana, between January and October 2025, 658 fire outbreaks rocked the nation, up from 569 the year before. Instead of proactive measures to prevent fires, much of the focus is on responding to them, often too late. Experts have long advocated for stricter enforcement of fire safety laws, yet many public buildings, schools and commercial centers still lack basic fire prevention systems. Worse still, periodic fire inspections are rarely conducted, allowing unsafe conditions to go unnoticed until disaster strikes. For the country to move past its recurring fire outbreaks, urgent reforms are needed. As the ashes of yet another market fire settle and victims try to rebuild, one thing is clear: Ghana cannot afford to continue on this path. Without urgent intervention, the cycle will repeat and more lives and livelihoods will be lost. The next time fire strikes, we will still be asking the same questions, or will we have taken real steps to ensure that when the alarm sounds, Ghana's firefighters are truly ready? Godwin Asiriba. TV3.
So these are all. And that's my colleague Gordon Asidiba with thought-provoking questions with respect to our response to fire disasters. It will take us onto Regional Hub.
Between March 18th and 24th, the Tamale Circuit Court, presided over by His Highness Francis Asobeyire, has sentenced 5 accused persons: Haruna Mohammed Sadai, age 27, Idrisu Fidelis, age 20 years, Al Hassan Wumpene, 20, Basit Idrisu, 21, and Al Hassan Adam, 33 years, to fines ranging from 600 to 900 penalty units, translating into over 900,000 cedis, or in default, serve between 15 to 17 years in prison with hard labor. For possession and sale of Tramadol, the accused persons were convicted on their own plea. Let's head to Tamale now. Christopher Mwako is our correspondent following this story. Chris, good afternoon to you. Tell us a bit more about how this came to be.
Yes. So, Kamini, these persons were arrested between 5th of March, and since then they have been in court the police have were convicted on the 18th and yesterday 20 into prison custody after they were fined with several offenses that the police levied against them, and so one of them was able to actually pay Ghana cedis, and so yesterday he was made to go because he was able to meet his fine conditions, but the remaining 4 were sent to the Tamale.
Christopher, I'm afraid we'll have to leave it here for now, but thank you for the reporting. Before we end the story, let's take a listen to the chairman of the task force in Tamale.
Police arresting drug now is cool. Kudos to them. They have done well. But it's too late. Because when we were telling them about whatever was happening in the region, they were thinking that we wanted to take their job away from them. No, all of us are fighting the same fight. So arresting 5 people, jail them, is too late, because when the baron was arrested, who they supposed to jail, are they arresting the person, these ones, because they don't have money? Now, because the baron has too much money, but we didn't know how the matter closed.
But have to start from somewhere.
Start from somewhere. For how many years? Because a change of government? Who are you sabotaging? That's my question. Who are you sabotaging? All of us needed fight to fight this. We tell you, this is the loophole, this is the loophole. We arrested a lot of people, a lot of drugs, and bring to police. So why now?
Now, the Sokode Senior High Technical School in the whole municipality has reopened after a month of temporal closure. The school was shut down on Sunday, the 23rd of February, following violent clashes between students and the youth of Sokode Bogame, leaving many people injured. More in the following report.
The committee that has been set up to look into the happenings on Sunday, 23rd February, has since last week presented its report to the Volta Regional Minister. Though details of their investigations are yet to be made public, RECSEC has advised that the school be reopened. Volta Regional Director of Education, Francis Agbamadi, has been speaking on this very subject.
In line with one of the recommendations of the preliminary reports that there is now peace and that the students to report on 20th of March. But because the day was so close, we shifted it to today. Some of them came by the weekend, but today most of them have come, and we directed that the children should come with their parents. And this morning, members of the committee and some management of the regional Directorate of Education visited the school to interact with the students and their parents. And within the next 2 weeks, the police have been assigned by the RISEC to keep surveillance over the school until we are sure that, even though the community have assured us that nothing will happen, but we didn't want to take chances.
He's urging parents to bring their wards back immediately as academic activities commence. Assembly member for the Sokode electoral area, Mark Billions Bansa, is assuring the public of a safe school environment as the students return.
And I can give all the assurances on behalf of my chiefs, the good people, opinion leaders of Sokode, that everybody, any other stakeholder, they should allay their fears. The place is safe for academic work to commence and to move on smoothly. So there's nothing to worry about. It's safe, and the good people of Sokode have fully pledged their support without any iota of doubt.
All the assurances have been given regarding the safety of students as they return, as academic activities are expected to commence in earnest. But of course, some teachers here are also recommending that government provides enough accommodation here on campus for the teachers so that they will be able to monitor the activities of the students. Faisal Abdul Idrisu for TV3 News.
And that's it for Regional Hub. And the news just in, the Supreme Court has ruled as moot an injunction application filed by Imani Africa and security expert Professor Kwesi Enin to restrain the president from removing the IGP and other security chiefs until a substantive case is determined in May 2025. A 5-member panel presided over by Justice Bafu Boni held that the pendency of the case shouldn't stop the president from carrying out his administrative duties. And we'll hear from lawyer Kofi Bentil, who's been reacting to the decision by the court. But let's take you to the Supreme Court right now, where my colleague Lord Eduasare is there for us. Lord, let's try and provide a background with respect to this particular case and why the Supreme Court is ruling. Walk us through the history.
So you'd recall that somewhere last year, Imani Africa and then security expert Professor Kwesi Enin filed a joint suit to restrain the president against dismissing security heads, including the IGP. Now, fast forward to early this month, they again filed an injunction after there were reports that the Inspector General of Police, the former, I should say, Dr. George Dampare, was going to be replaced. Now, in court today, the lawyer for both the plaintiffs, Kofi Bentil, moved that injunction application. Now, even before it could start, the panel of justices indicated that his application, the injunction application, is moot, looking at the fact that, as it stands now, that action that he sought to make, the president has already exercised his administrative duty and then appointed a new IGP in the person of Christian Johonu. And so what they didn't understand the remit or why he still wanted to move his application, but he indicated that the application was not, as it were, a personalized one, but it was for the future purposes, so that in future the president will not make such unlawful statement. He indicated that even the letter that was used for that appointment had several issues, among other things. But then the panel of justices indicated that as far as they're concerned, the injunction application before them had no, for example, statement of case or background story. All they had was that there was an injunction application stopping or trying to restrain the president from doing his job. And considering all that, we're not going to go ahead and give an order against the president or any other person. And so they considered that the application, the injunction application, was moot. And so that's what happened. Now, Kofi Mensah spoke to us. You can listen to him because he was so of the opinion that that cannot be the case. They may have considered it as moot, but there are still certain points of law that will have to be addressed minor. Let's
take a listen to Kofi Bento in that interaction with journalists.
Supreme Court on your application considering it moot.
But we argued that the matter was not moot. It wasn't moot because, in our view, the order of the president was unlawful. It was unlawful because it sought to overreach the courts. It was unlawful because there are many cases to the effect that when you have a case before the court, you should not take any step to try and overreach the courts, which is exactly what was done. It was also unlawful because the order that was replacing the IGP, at least that's the one that we saw and then we filed, that order, the letter itself, was moot for vagueness. It says replace. Is it a reassignment? Is it a demotion? Is it a retirement? The IG is not at the retirement age. There were many problems even with that letter. So if you add the fact that there was a letter that in our view was unlawful, if you add the fact that the matter was before the court and they shouldn't have done what they did, and then there's another point that I made before the court, that this was calculated to overreach the court and to make the ruling of the court, of no effect. If you take that kind of action, the court must resist it. There are many situations where courts have taken on, or applied their powers to resist such things, and you have a situation like that here. So I was impressing on the court that even though the act has happened, in our view in law, it is void or voidable. And I was trying to impress on the court to take that kind of step, to send a message to everybody. Now, what the court has said is that, well, as far as they are concerned, the process we filed, which will be ruled upon on the 7th of May, will have a prospective effect. It will have a future effect. And they didn't think that there needs to be any disruption of the purported authority of the president to do what he has done, because that's what has been done all these years. In other words, the court is saying that, well, until they rule that it is unlawful, they are going to assume that what has been done in the past was okay. And to that extent, therefore, they were going to allow the president to do his work. And if the ruling on May 7th happens and it's ruled in our favor, then it will have an effect from now onwards. Okay? So many things were said, but just to try and explain it, the court was reluctant to disrupt the system as it is now. And the court upheld that the president may be acting based on, just the fact that this is what has been done. So until they rule that it is wrong, they assume that the president was acting within the law. If the ruling comes and changes that situation, then whatever happens will be subsequent to today. So in short, that's what has happened.
All right, thank you very much.
As Kofi Bento is one of the lawyers in that suit where they were seeking to injunct the president from proceeding to sack the IGP and other service chiefs, and the Supreme Court has ruled as moot that injunction application, which came about a week plus ago, and has, amongst many other things, set. We know that May 7 was always going to be the day where a determination on that substantive case was going to be had. Whether or not the practice of president sacking security chiefs without recourse to lay down procedure, which is essentially the arguments that they are advancing, is lawful, that will be determined on the 7th of May. But they had sought to injunct the current president, that's President Mahama, from proceeding to sack the IGP, Dr. George Akuffo Dampare, who is now outgone, and then the CDS, amongst many other service chiefs, pending the determination of that May 7 substantive case. Well, the president did proceed to relieve the respective service chiefs of their job, and today the court sat on the injunction application which was seeking to stop the president from taking that action in the first place. The Supreme Court panel says the injunction application is moot.
We can move on to some other stories now. The Greater Accra Regional Minister promised on February 3rd, 2025, that she will fix at least 70% of street lights across major roads in Accra in 50 days. With that deadline expiring today, some areas in the capital remain in darkness despite significant work done to light up some highways. Christian Yale has an update.
It has always been like this, a capital drowned in darker street, exposing lives to danger. This nighttime hazard is one that has troubled many road users and pedestrians for far too long. Upon assuming office, the Greater Accra Regional Minister set an ambitious target to light up the capital in just 50 days, effective February 3rd, 2025.
Within 50 days in office, all these things should be fixed. 50 days in office. All the street lights? Yes, not even all, but we'll make sure that majority, at least 70% of it should be fixed.
District assemblies were tasked to spearhead this drive, and my checks reveal that a significant work has been done with street lights fixed on many highways. Areas like the National Theatre stretch, the Accra High Street, and even the frontage of the Jubilee House now have light.
A few months ago, I was here at the same spot in front of the seat of government where these street lights were eerily dark. Today, the story is different. This significant change is a welcome relief, also considering the fact that this is a major security area. In my tour of the capital a few nights ago, I however noticed that some places are still dark, including portions of the Spintex Road, the N4, the Lateshinunga Road, and even the motorway are still in pitch darkness.
It's a cross-sector issue. At some point, it's either the Department of Urban Roads, at other places, the Highway Authority, the infrastructure is on the highway, the assemblies, because it has security implications for communities. But to a greater extent, the Ministry of Energy.
Experts are concerned and are demanding urgent action.
Every driver needs at least to see 25 meters when you're driving ahead of you. Do we have that? It's unfortunate that drivers are rather having eye issues because you need to strain your eyes in the evening and drive.
According to the Motor Traffic and Transport Department of the Ghana Police Service, approximately 30% of road crashes happen at night, and road users fear for their lives.
Last month, one of our drivers and his passengers were robbed last month after a tire burst.
Yes, for Nina. Okay, say, that's why I'm a fitting I'm a far car name for it.
If your car breaks down on the road and you don't act swiftly, thieves steal crucial parts of the car.
They should put a street light on the road for us because our safety is very, very much important to our families. If the government doesn't care, our family cares.
The World Health Organization's 2023 Global Status Report on Road Safety indicates that road crashes cost Ghana 3 to 5% of its annual gross domestic product.
This are a part of the engineering of our roads, and if this is not there, of course we should have a lot more of accidents on our road.
We are high on ensuring that vehicles that move around at night have improved visibility so that they do not suffer the consequences of the already compounded situation.
With the Greater Accra Regional Minister working to achieve her almost ending 50-day target, the Director General of the Road Safety Authority says he will engage assemblies to ensure road safety plans are met. Christian Yali, TV3 News.
And Today on the bulletin, we return to some numbers crunching with respect to inflation and what you should know. And today on By the Numbers, we spotlight the rising cost of food in Ghana and its key drivers, with food prices being a major concern for Ghanaians ahead of the 2024 elections. We're asking the simple question: how bad has it gotten? And what's the way forward? Food inflation, we know, has surged in recent times, particularly for the daily staples as consumed by most households. But just how severe is the situation? Let's try and walk you through what the data suggests this afternoon with respect to what the number says and just how much it is that we consume as individuals and as a people. And so let's walk you through those details, for starters, with respect to the staples which we consume the most. And we're starting off, if you look onto the screen, cassava is leading the way with 152 kilograms. That's what? About 3 times a bag of cement in terms of weight. That's just how much we consume per person in a year. In terms of rice, every individual is looking at, say, the weight of a bag of cement roughly every year, and that's just you as an individual. Maize slightly drops with respect to how much a bag of cement weighs, which is 50 kg, by the way, and then yam follows as well, along with beans, which is the next commodity in line. And so that's a top 5 with respect to what it is that we've seen. But what's been the trajectory with respect to these numbers and how much they cost over the period with respect to inflation? We've seen the numbers rise from 3 cedis 50 pesos, mostly, you know, if you buy cassava, they mostly do it 10 cedis thereabout. But we did the costing with respect to how much really a tuber will be costing you if you were buying, say, 20 cedis, and we've seen what? A near 100% rise with respect to how much it will cost you now as compared to 2023. With respect to rice, that's been slightly marginal, but it won't be marginal on your pocket when 44.8 is what we've seen between 2025 and 2023. And then maize as well, slightly below 50% with 47.8%. What are the drivers with respect to how the trends of inflation has looked like over the last few months and years as well? And this is what food inflation has looked like. It started quite strongly all throughout the times of 2023 into 2024, where we know that inflation surged quite greatly with respect to the economy and where we are. And we know that food has been one of the major drivers. It's been tapering. At some point, it tapered around August of 2024, but it's seen a sharp increase again. In fact, if you've been listening to government statistician Professor Samuel Kobna, he continues to make the argument that food inflation continues to be one of the major drivers. And we've been seeking to find out a bit more from individuals with respect to really what they make of the prices as we've seen. Here's what they've been telling us the situation has been and what it's been doing to their pockets.
We are here on the grounds to pick thoughts from Ghanaians, how they feel about recent food prices.
I don't go buy egg, 4 cedi, sausage 1 like this, 4 cedi. I don't buy. I left.
Before, I think a bowl of rice before was like 15 cedis, 20 cedis. But now it's like 50 cedis, 80 cedis, and it's really heartbreaking.
500 cedis.
Soon be there.
Me talk on the box, sardine, take away pack. Then she say me pa, me put 500 cedis. Me talk on beef box. It's too bad.
And the drivers of inflation let us across what? Declining food production, high imports, amongst many other things. These are factors known by President Mahama, who was then candidate Mahama in the lead up to the December elections. Let's listen to what he had to say then and then look forward to really what it is that he promises to do.
And so we need to support our farmers to be able to produce. The problem with our economy is that we are import dependent. Indeed, food products alone account for almost $3 billion every year of our import bill. And so we're going to come and assist the farmers so that we can produce enough food before you do anything else, the first thing you need is to satisfy the stomach. And so food is the #1 priority. And the only way we can produce enough food is to support the farmers to produce it. And that is why NDC is coming to establish farmer service centers. Every farmer service center will have at least 10 tractors with planters, harvesters, everything that a farmer needs.
That's the promise of President Mahama, whose first budget has been read, promises of farmer service centers, amongst many other things. That's it for By the Numbers today. There's a lot more you should expect from us here on News Central. That's our bulletin for you. You were asking a question about...
Yeah, has a plate of jollof got more expensive?
Well, crunching the numbers with respect to what an average plate costs and then what the minimum wage is. So 25 cedis averagely as against 19 cedis, 97 pesos as the minimum wage. Yeah. Then there's a difference of some 5 cedis plus. And so if you earn a minimum wage, you cannot perhaps even be able to get a plate of rice for yourself, depending on where it is that you're getting it.
Let alone to cook it.
Exactly. And so that's it from us this afternoon. I am Mawina Igbeta.
And I am Kemini Amano. Next is the afternoon show. Bye-bye.